Oh my goodness. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, William Liu. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. After the Raptors collect a signature win, okay? A true signature win. Raptors have had such a good year already. Incredible road trip. 4-1 on the road trip, winning 4 straight on a road trip that looked like it was ready to derail the season. Raptors playing OKC. OKC coming off a loss to Indiana. All the momentum in the world. You know how much Shea and Lou, as Canadians, how much they get up for this game against Toronto of all times. And Raptors win tonight, 103-101. I want to welcome all of you guys into the React Pod because this is gonna be a party, man. Wow, what a gutsy effort too. And you know it wasn't gonna be easy. Like, it was always gonna be difficult against the reigning champions. I know they were missing a couple guys, no Jalen Williams, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Alex Caruso, a couple other guys I'm missing, I'm sure. Casey Wallace left the game. Like, they're down some guys, but, still, I mean, Raptors, we're shorthanded a little bit on our own as well, but still is going to be really difficult, especially last game of the road trip. It's been snowing all across all of North America, it feels like. Obviously nothing close to what's happening in Toronto right now with like basically a meter of snow on the ground. It's kind of unheard of. Spent all day throwing my back out, shoveling my driveway like 6 times, and it didn't even matter. But yeah, man, I mean, like, it was tough. OKC took the lead late. Raptors had to respond. Raptors had a couple of setbacks. They played through those, and when it came down to like winning time, and it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like literally the MVP, the reigning MVP, the reigning finals MVP, the rest of the champions around him too. And I gotta say, the Raptors out-executed OKC. I mean, honestly, the Raptors, if I'm gonna be, like, the Raptors actually outplayed OKC for most of the game, in my opinion. Raptors got better shots. Raptors really defended well, had an effective strategy, especially considering how they wanted to guard Shai. But let's just start at the very end of the game, because when it's like a 1-point game and it's anybody's, result there, the Raptors turned to Scottie Barnes, who came up with 2 just ridiculously clutch plays down the stretch to seal the win, 1 on offense, 1 on defense, and then Emanuel Quickley making 4 shots, 2 threes, and 2 free throws, all of which were massive to give the Raptors the advantage to hold on to at the very end. And I mean, let's start with the Scottie plays, because I don't know. He's like an alien. Because when we're thinking about, okay, this, like, let's make the push for Scottie Barnes all defense, Scottie Barnes defensive player of the year. Let me ask you this. How many players can just guard Chet Holmgren one-on-one, who, again, Chet Holmgren is like 7'1", right? You're guarding Chet Holmgren one-on-one. He bumps you, like he fully bumps you, leans into you, then fades away. And Scottie Barnes just straight up absorbs the bump, because let's be real, Chet's a twig and Scottie's a monster. So he eats the bump, and then he just swats the living daylights out of Chet. This was, by the way, when the Raptors are holding on to a 2-point advantage. OKC come out of the timeout. I'm surprised they didn't go to Shea, to be honest, of all things, but maybe they thought, oh, we'll catch the Raptors by surprise and go to Chet. Yeah, Chet versus a defensive player of the year candidate. Not really a mismatch. And Scottie Barnes blocks Chet, collects the rebound as well, pushes it into the front court. At that point, the Raptors have the ball. There's like a 3-second shot clock differential. Raptors up 2. So you're already in a really good spot. After that point, you're basically looking to just get fouled, waste some clock, and make 2 free throws, right? And put the pressure back on OKC to execute. But you're up 2. You're a chance to make 2. They swing the ball around. Brandon Ingram probably could have held on to it. I really would have loved for Brandon Ingram to hold on to it, but I think it's a good sign of trust in the team that Brandon Ingram made the extra pass to Jamal, and Jamal was ultimately the one who got fouled. Out of all the guys on the floor, I was like, Jamal's probably the last guy I really want for this, but still, I trust him. I trusted him. I think it's a good sign of team trust in general. So, okay, fine. Jamal goes to the foul line, misses the first one. Already it's like, oh man, okay, now you really got to make the next one, because you got to at least protect it and keep it as, a 3-point lead, so that, OKC can't win it on you right now. Jamal misses the second free throw as well. And despite the fact that Scottie was on the side where he had both OKC, because obviously on a free throw, you got 3 defensive players lining up for the box outs and then 2 offensive players. So OKC had 2 guys lining out on the side of Scottie Barnes, and Scottie manages to jump up, out muscle again, Chet once again, but like out muscle Chet plus another guy and tap it back out. The ball goes out to Emanuel Quickley, and IQ is holding on to it. Ultimately, he gets intentionally fouled, and he goes to the line. No mistake, swishes both, makes it a 4-point game. At that point, the Raptors win. I mean, just credit to who was it? Isaiah Joe, who hit a step back, foot on the line, long 2, to make it a 2-point game. But ultimately, that didn't matter. Raptors were able to win as soon as they got up 4. But just 2 superhuman plays by Scottie Barnes. And again, I just can't get over that block, man. I mean, Scottie was in a difficult game in this one, looked really tired, looked really exhausted, got into foul trouble. I'm sure that was related to the exhaustion as well. There were plays where he was straight up wasn't even crossing half court on offense. That's how tired he was. And of course, I guess the benefit of the foul trouble was that he got to sit in some, extended period. So he had some energy to close the game, but very similar to how the win over Portland. I mean, that one wasn't like at the buzzer, but very similar to the end of the game in the Portland. Scottie was fighting fatigue through the entire game, but stepped up with a massive fourth quarter. That's what he does in this fourth quarter as well. And again, like, who else, like, who's guarding Chet like that? I mean, Wemby, yeah, sure, Wemby suns Chet every single time, but like, we're talking about like, okay, that's an alien, right? Like, in terms of like people, like real life people, like Scottie Barnes, man, what a play there. Again, literally, Raptors needed both plays there to win the game, and Scottie Barnes delivered 2 essentially game winners, in my opinion, in terms of just plays. And then Emanuel Quickley, man, first off, IQ has had an amazing road trip, right? It started with the 40 ball against the Warriors, the most efficient 40 ball in Raptors history, ties his career high. Just a sensational game against the Warriors. But he was great against the Kings. He was great against Portland, especially starting that game off. And then tonight, IQ was massive. I mean, you could just see IQ's confidence growing and growing and growing. And, in crunch time, yes, the Raptors tend to go to Brandon Ingram, and, BI, he got a really clean look. He just couldn't get it to drop, but I'll take a free throw line jumper with like 2 feet of separation from Brandon Ingram every single time. But the Raptors have also turned to Immanuel Quickley for a lot of huge clutch plays this season. And I feel like that has to be acknowledged, man. Like, IQ was the guy who hit the 3, obviously, in Charlotte, right? That was when the Raptors season was like unraveling. They needed that 3 in Charlotte, and he got them that 3 in Charlotte. Ever since then, his confidence has changed. Obviously, he's missed a couple games. Even today, he was questionable to play. Ultimately, played through it. He had a back injury earlier too, or back soreness or whatever, but he's been awesome, man. And of course, tonight, the Raptors decided to close with a 2-point guard lineup, which is something they've done a lot of late. And, it wouldn't even be that notable that Jamal and Immanuel closed the game together, if not for the fact that RJ Barrett's now back in the lineup. But I thought it was a really good move by Darko, because even though RJ made a lot of really good plays in this one, gave the Raptors a lot of offense in a game where the Raptors really couldn't score much, gave the Raptors a downhill punch, knocked down a 3, set up Grady Dick for a 3. Those were all huge plays in the fourth quarter as well. But I just thought that, like, with RJ coming back from injury, he was a step slow defensively, and you needed your defense so bad in this one. And so Raptors closed with their 2-point guard lineup. And I mean, twice you saw great sequences where Jamal Shead touched the paint, collapsed the defense. Then Brandon Ingram, the first one, Shead attacks the defense, gets into the paint, kicks it to the corner, swing to the wing. BI attacks a closeout, drives the paint again. The paint is again collapsed, and then he kicks it out to IQ, knocks down the 3. That made the Raptors go up 1, which is always huge, right? Like, just literally turning it from being down 2 to being up 1 was huge. And the next play down, I believe Jamal just straight up drove and again beat his man just with straight quickness off the bounce and kicked it opposite corner. IQ, the same play, same scenario, same spot on the floor, knocks down the 3. And that puts the Raptors up 4. And then when OKC got another 2 back through Shea with the step back, IQ is the one who ices the game with the 2 free throws. So, like, we got to give so much credit around the, across the board. I thought Darko really managed the game, in a very difficult game. But first off, I thought he planned a really good game plan for this one. I thought that the strategies around Shea were really good. I mean, Shea's Shea, right? He's going to get free eventually. But the Raptors kept a really tight lid on Shea in the first half. Like Shea basically got like 4 or 5 like shot attempts total in the first half. He only had 9 points in the first half. Honestly, at halftime, I was wondering, like, is this the game where Shea loses his 20-point streak? Right? Because if you think back to a month ago, the Raptors already snapped LeBron's double-digit streak. Could they now do the unthinkable and also snap Shea's 20-point streak, which is now at 117 games? Obviously, Shea being great, turn it to another level, come out at halftime, third quarter, got free. Basically felt like Shea made every single shot. It felt like he never even missed it at all in this game, especially down the stretch. But generally speaking, the Raptors had a really good game plan against Shea. They trapped, they were being very aggressive. Typically, the Raptors aren't that aggressive on ball handlers, but again, like, you think about it, I think this is a good sign for the Raptors coaching staff to adjust to a strategy that they lost with, which was they played hard in single coverage down the stretch. And that's why the Raptors lost in the fourth quarter and then in overtime. Also, the Raptors offense went ice cold in that game too, but that game, it was like, okay, there was no Kawhi. So you're like, okay, Harden's the one guy out there. And granted, like, even with the Clippers, they have like the lob threat to Zubac rolling, alongside of, Harden. But realistically, if the Raptors could have a do-over on that Clippers game, I'm sure they would have double teamed and forced Harden to be more of a passer rather than letting Harden score every point down the stretch. Well, this is their do-over, right? No Jalen Williams. The OKC didn't really have a lot of reliable secondary scoring. First half, they were getting by with some miracle Lou Dort threes. That's not going to last. So Raptors were throwing the double teams at Shea and forced him into passing. And granted, Shea sees double teams all the time. He was quick with passing out of those. He was dragging the defense out of place and then, putting the Raptors in difficult 4-on-3 scenarios. But the Raptors, first off, rotated really well, left the right shooters open. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Lou Dort, hit 8 threes tonight and won the game, you just say salute to him. You know what I mean? Like, congratulations. Like, that was the game plan. And, we couldn't do anything else. We took care of Shea, and if Lou Dort hits 8 threes, whatever, right? But they left the right shooters open. And then the most important part, because when you're doubling the ball like that, you are now at a disadvantage defensively behind the defense 4-on-3. That also means you are usually at a disadvantage on the glass, especially considering the Raptors are small with no CMB and no Jakob Poeltl available tonight. Raptors got a ton of defensive rebounds, man. And this is against a really pesky OKC team that tends to get in there and crash the glass. OKC only had 5 offensive rebounds. That might be the lowest total of any team against the Raptors in a matchup this season. I got to double check that. But generally speaking, the Raptors did a great job crashing the glass. And it's everybody, like RJ getting in there, Grady Dick getting in there, Emmanuel Quickley getting in there, Scottie obviously always getting on the glass. IQ had 11 rebounds tonight, 10 of them defensive. You know what I mean? Like, and that consistent effort to, stick to their game plan and adapt to it was great. And then, of course, other small things that the Raptors could do better against. Zone, defense has consistently been a strategy that teams use against the Raptors. Raptors did a great job against the zone tonight. They got into the middle of the floor. Scottie made some decisive passes. I mean, one of the cleverest plays of the entire game was they had Scottie going downhill in a zone scenario, and I think there's one guy guarding maybe 2, and Scottie's like heading towards the rim. There's like a rim protector there, but he's like stepping up to engage Scottie, so Scottie's not quite open. Scottie looks on the wing at, I believe, Jacoby Walter was like to his left, and just with the eyes manipulated the help defense to slightly come up to maybe contest on the 3, and then he threw the pass back door to, I believe, Ochai, who cut in for a dunk. Like, small things like that, but like the Raptors have been handling zone a lot better. One of the big things of that is OKC only played zone for like maybe 10 possessions tonight. We had a game just this week on the road against Sacramento where Sacramento played zone for 3 quarters. You know what I mean? So just really impressive stuff. And this is on a night where BI really couldn't get it going. I mean, it's kind of a nightmare matchup for Ingram to play against Lou Dort. Honestly, I was worried about this one because if you take it back to about a year ago now, or I guess a little bit over a year ago now, but the reason Ingram suffered that season-ending injury with his ankle last year that, cut short his time with the Pelicans and, got him traded to Toronto, and ultimately he didn't even play for Toronto last year. He played this year. But the injury to Brandon Ingram was because Lou Dort had his foot underneath Brandon Ingram as he went up for a jumper. And so, and of course, like the Pelicans have played OKC before. Lou Dort's done a lot of good stuff defensively against, Ingram. Even that play where Lou Dort ultimately injured like Ingram. It was a play where like Lou reacted to some contact, fell on the ground, and then like as Ingram came down, he didn't see where Lou Dort was. It was, whatever. Like it wasn't a dirty play, but it also is an accidental play that happens a lot involving Lou Dort. Let's just say that much. But in any case, like I was worried just based on that. Like first off, Lou Dort's had a history of successfully guarding Brandon, but I was also worried like, okay, physically, is he going to be able to come out of this matchup without sustaining an injury? And I honestly haven't really worried about Brandon's injury pretty much all year, which is amazing considering he only played 18 games last season. And he has his rep for being unavailable. But this was the one game I was really concerned about the physicality. And, like early in the game, it kind of confirmed it a little bit when Mamu drove to the basket and Lou Dort literally jumped up and rode on his shoulders for like a solid 3 seconds, and good on Mamu to hold him in place so that he didn't fall hard. You could have like pulled the shoot and let him drop, which obviously could lead to like really bad injuries, but he held him up. But I was worried about the physicality in this matchup. And honestly, Brandon just couldn't get a couple shots to drop. He didn't really like the matchup against Lou all that much. He was looking to attack Chet. He was looking to attack, Aaron Wiggins, basically anybody else. But again, like you just needed a little bit more like of a team effort in a scenario where, Scottie was really cold, wasn't really executing much offensively. Brandon was really cold. I mean, like, again, the two of these guys, like, what did Scottie have tonight? 3 of 8 from the field. Brandon Ingram, 5 of 18 from the field. So you're telling me your top two, right? Your all-star duo is going for 8 for 24 shooting from the field. And you're playing the reigning champions on the road at the end of a 5-game road trip. You should lose that game like 100 times out of 100. But I think that's the part that's been really rewarding, especially in the last 2 games, but even just in the season overall. But the Raptors' second unit starting to step up, and guys were making plays. Everybody that stepped on the floor tonight was productive. Like, this was one of those games where, like, not everyone played at their best, but everyone who got on the floor did something, and did something in a positive way. Mamu rolling to the basket, running in transition. Wasn't as free as the other game, but he's not going to be a guy who scores 20 points for you every game. But I thought, he scrapped on the glass. He blocked a shot at the rim. And he made plays, when it was available to him. RJ playing through, he doesn't even look 100%. I'm not going to lie to you. Still looks pretty labored defensively. Again, like I said, like didn't look like he had the energy to play some of the defensive possessions, but offensively still was able to get downhill, still was able to knock down some threes for you, still was able to set up guys, play in transition, like the classic RJ stuff. And of course, they didn't close the game with him. That's okay. You saw no complaints from RJ Barrett. He's just there cheering the rest of the team on as they close out against OKC. That's good team culture there. Then Jacoby Walter, man, the Raptors don't win this game without Jacoby Walter. Walter was the backup matchup against Shea because Scottie was the starting matchup against Shea. Which, by the way, again, you think about it, like Scottie started this game guarding Shea and he ends the game blocking Chet. By the way, he also not only blocked Chet and also got the huge offensive rebound, but he also won 2 consecutive jump balls against Chet. The first one they had to redo, but both times Scottie Barnes out-jumped him and then tapped it forward to Jacoby Walter, who was able to secure the ball both times. They actually ran the same, I guess, like play. It's not really a play on a jump ball, but basically the same sequence, same strategy. And like won every single little interaction you needed to at the end there. But Scottie was the primary defender against Shea in the first half, for the starters, and then it was Jacoby coming off the bench. And Jamal took some possessions there too, but with all due respect to Jamal, he just was not big enough. Shea was looking, his eyes lit up every time he saw this guy who's like 6'1" guarding him. Shea's like 6'5", 6'6", easily was rising up over the top of him to shoot it. So Jacoby needed to be the one matching up. And obviously, like, Shea got the best of Jacoby like plenty of times in this game, especially in the second half when he got free. But there were also plays where Jacoby was swiping Chet. Jacoby was like contesting shots, getting there for rebounds. And then more importantly, Jacoby being confident, dunking the ball around the basket, knocking down corner threes. Tonight, he couldn't even shoot that well, 1 of 6. But, I just thought his tenacity and just executing the game plan over and over against Shea, I thought that was a really, really important thing. And that's part of the reason why Darko, stayed with him for so much of this game, including closing out the matchup, right? Like they had Scottie at center, BI at the 4, Jacoby was the 3, and then with Jamal and, Immanuel at the end there, like they needed him because they liked his defense more than anything else against Shea down the stretch. So I commend Jacoby for that. He's got like that wiry, long wingspan. but he's quick with his feet. Like, he's disruptive. I thought he did a really good job. All things considered, for a second-year player against an MVP, he did a really good job. And then Jamal, early in the game, I thought Jamal was like, hanging his shoulders a little bit, wasn't as effective. But there were some key plays that Jamal came up with. I mean, first off, Jamal getting into the lane for a couple of those floaters and push shots, that's necessary because teams are sort of sagging back on him. A lot of point guards get a lot of defensive attention, but Jamal, it's in the scouting report that he's kind of a non-scorer. So those little push floaters when he drives the lane, like those are actually massive shots just to get the defense to step up to him. And then I think the threat of his downhill drives were so massive, like just getting into the paint. It was very difficult against OKC that, tonight, obviously they didn't play with Isaiah Hartenstein. They didn't have Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace. Like those are three of their best defenders. But OKC always does a great job stacking extra bodies, at the basket, protecting as a group, taking charges, slapping at the ball on your way to the basket. So it was really important for Jamal to, number one, take care of the ball, which the Raptors did a great job of as a whole. The Raptors only had 11 turnovers tonight, which against OKC is massive. Okay. Like OKC is like amazing at generating turnovers. And then the second thing for Jamal was he had to touch the paint and cause a couple of rotations. And that's what got guys free. I mean, again, the two driving kicks to IQ at the end, they were massive, but also massive was heading into, I believe, the end of the third quarter. Yeah, the Raptors were down. OKC went on a bit of a run. Shea again led a lot of that charge. Shea played like the entire third quarter. So like OKC was clearly trying to retake the lead, which they did. And they were looking to seize control and get the crowd back on their side. And it was a 5-point game. It was a broken possession at the end there. But Jamal Shead comes off a screen and hits a pull-up three over Chet Holmgren. I think he banked it in. But regardless, hit a huge three that cut the lead to just 2 and gave the Raptors momentum heading into the fourth quarter. That was massive. Just those little opportunistic plays from Jamal was huge. And then, for a second straight game, Grady and Ochai coming in just like doing a little bit of what they need to do. Ochai play around the basket, make a couple cuts, play in transition, play a little bit of defense. No negatives for Ochai tonight, fought for some offensive rebounds as well. And then Grady Dick, he's got to do a little bit more, and I think he is just straight up better. But Grady Dick knocking down 2 corner threes was huge. The Raptors weren't shooting the three well. Surprise, surprise, the Raptors weren't shooting the three well, but he knocked down 2 of the Raptors' corner threes. And then even small things like his ability to guard and be disruptive, and he did a lot of that tonight. But him winning the rebounds, him crashing in, him playing in transition, finishing above the basket, just playing all out. I mean, it looked like he took a bit of a knock there, so and he came out the game. So I'm hoping that it's like nothing too serious. I think that just by the nature of the way Grady plays, like he plays so hard that he is gonna, he's a bit of a crash test dummy out there. He sustains a lot of big hits, but yeah, man, he was very important too, coming off the bench. Again, I'm not even asking for the world for these guys. Like I'm pretty happy with Grady and Ochai if they hold their own defensively and score 15 points. Like Grady Dick had 10 tonight. Ochai had 5. The two of them played, Grady played 21. Ochai played 14. I'm happy with that. Cash out 100%. I'm cashing out when I see that. You know what I mean? And I thought those guys were big too. But again, the Raptors needed to execute as a group. I feel like so many guys were able to contribute to this win. And, when you think back to it, it's just like you have this road trip that, after the Raptors lost to the Clippers at the end there, it felt really bad. The Raptors obviously, had the lead going into the, down the stretch. Then they went scoreless. Then they went to OT. Then they lost in OT. Like that felt really bad. And then that got coupled with the Lakers game, where the Lakers just slapped up the Raptors, and of course, literally slapped up with Lucas slapping CMB's thumb and knocking CMB out for the remainder of the road trip. It was looking real dire. But again, 4 straight wins on the road. The Raptors have been, I believe, the 5th best road team in the association all year. It's one of their best starts of the season on the road in terms of their record. And anytime you go out west and you're able to come back 4-1, like that's so impressive, man. I mean, you know what? There's been lots of analogies drawn from this season to 2013, 2014. That season, the Raptors were not supposed to be good, but they came out of nowhere. Obviously, they traded Rudy Gay. They finished the season strong, finished with 48 wins. Ultimately lost in the first round, but pushed it to game 7. Kyle Lowry getting blocked by Paul Pierce at the end there. But like that was like such a serendipitous season where you didn't expect for the Raptors to, be that competitive, but the young, group gelled. The coach that had been there for a couple of years set some standards, and then it started to work and grow. New GM in that scenario too, which technically Bobby's taking over this year versus like Masai took over that time in 2013-14. And one of the things for that season was, okay, the Raptors started turning it around, but were they going to be able to sustain it? And they got off to a slow start, unlike the Raptors who got off to a hot start. So it's not a perfect analogy, but there was a stretch there. And I remember that season so well because it's genuinely one of my favorite seasons in franchise history. But one of the signature wins for the Raptors in that year was going to OKC and beating the Thunder. And that was the year KD won MVP, so you still had KD, you still had Westbrook, Ibaka. They lost Harden, but like that year, OKC was awesome. Like they were awesome. Like I don't know what else to say. They were expected to go to the finals and everything. And the Raptors went to OKC, I believe it was in January as well, and they got the win. I believe John Salmons might have made some huge plays down the stretch, if I'm not mistaken. But like, I think Amir Johnson had a big game. Kyle Lowry had a big game. And it was like this one. They had to scrap. They had to fight. They were playing against an MVP player. And ultimately, they got it. And you're like, wow, like, I can't believe the Raptors are at this point where we're, like, competing against some of the best teams in the league. Like, OKC was one of the best teams in the league that time. Just like how OKC is, like, the best team in the league right now, arguably. Although, right now they're really banged up. But still, they had, again, a lot of big players. And it's like, I think for a young team, like getting wins like this affirms the project that you're doing, affirms the trust and the effort that you're putting into each other as a group. And it just builds your confidence, like I think back to this trip and like, if you're Grady Dick, you probably enter this road trip all frustrated, like not really knowing like how the season's going to go. The trade deadline's coming up. Well, all of a sudden you come up with several big performances on the road. And you got a real sense of confidence about your game. Emanuel Quickley, all the frustrations about IQ. We just spent like a whole month, like literally the first 3 weeks of January, we're talking about, hey, maybe IQ for Trey, maybe IQ for Ja, maybe LaMelo, maybe whatever, like put him in an AD deal, put him in a DeMontis Sabonis deal. I'm not putting IQ into any of these deals right now, okay? Like, look at the way he's played and the way he stepped up, like especially in crunch time. Like, these are massive moments for him. You're looking at Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram continuing to try to make an all-star campaign for themselves. Like I think Scottie's case should already be wrapped up. But even for BI, like a lot of these guys, like, just building in confidence over the course of the year. And I think the biggest thing too is like, you step back and you look at it, man, management, I think I'll be really proud of the whole thing, man, because, again, this is a proven year for Darko. This is a proven year for Bobby. Both of these guys probably will sign extensions at the end of the year. They deserved it. And I say probably because I just trust ownership to do the right thing. But I think it was kind of a show me. It's like, okay, you guys had the last couple of years when we're rebuilding. Show me that this is now something that's worth building onto. And how about this? A win over OKC on the road. How about that for something to build off of? So take a quick break. I know you guys got a ton of questions. We'll get to them right after this message from our sponsor.
This segment is brought to you by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table.
It's a great location, right across the street from the arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal.
Will, I love my wedge salad, but there's plenty of options at Table. What should we have next?
Oh, we could have salad for days, my friend.
Oh, you're talking about salad days? I love salad days, man. They got a different salad for every day of the week. You can never get tired of the options there.
Oh yeah, I heard about this place. This was your go-to lunch spot forever. You always said the lettuce was so crispy.
Man, it's so crispy and fresh, and now this can be your go-to meal before Raptors games.
I like that. Grab a pregame salad at Table Fare and Social right across from the arena. Okay, we're gonna get to the questions, but I had to look it up just to confirm my own ball knowledge. Okay, this was December 22nd, 2013. Raptors were in the midst of a 4-game road trip. They had played that year. They were going to a 4-game road trip. First, they played Dallas. They won in overtime. I remember that one. That one was such a fun game as well. But then 2 nights later, they played in OKC, and they also beat the Thunder that game. Right? They won that one 104-98. So actually very similar to 103, not 101 in tonight's performance. But similar to that game, the Raptors had a lot of guys step up. DeMar with 17, Kyle with 22, JV 13, Amir Johnson 17, T. Ross. Yeah, John Salmons with 14 off the bench had a huge game, like I said, plus 22 in that game. I think he closed it out for the Raptors, and yeah, they were able to beat OKC. OKC at that time was 22-5. The Raptors with that win was 11-14. So this is what that felt like. And I don't know. I mean, maybe a lot of you guys weren't around 10 years ago for this, but I remember that specific road trip so well because of how much that season, like, I mean, that year the Raptors, again, like, they're only 11-14. Right now the Raptors are 28 wins. I mean, you think about it. Sorry, the Raptors are 29 wins. You think about it. The Raptors had 25 wins and then 30 wins total for the last 2 seasons. 25, now 30. And then we have 29 and it's still January. Like, unbelievable stuff. But just one of these confidence building wins in a season where we had low expectations in terms of just like, well, modest expectations. Okay. For once we didn't overgas the Raptors, and they're coming through in this way. And it's great seeing them gel together like this, man. Yeah. From the chat, Scottie made Kyle Lowry plays down the stretch, winning plays. Yeah, we do that a lot. We see that a lot from Scottie Barnes, and that was great. In general, man, damn, I really remember this game from 10. This is 12 years ago now. I remember that John Simons had a good game. That's amazing. Okay, all right, let's get to the money and your questions. First off, we got Taylor, who sent in $14. Raptors fans sleeping good tonight. The season feels special. Yes. Believe in the city. Believe in the city, man. Believe in the season. What a great time. I mean, I'm sure everyone watched this one. I think this is part of the reason why we have so many people, in the chat right now. And it's great to see these numbers too. And of course, leave a like and subscribe if you're not, here already. We go live after every game. But I think it's also like, it was at 7:00 and nobody went outside today. If you didn't have to, like, nobody went outside today. Literally, it snowed like 60, 70 centimeters by now. So I'm hoping everyone just stayed in. They're looking for things to do. And I hope you guys turn on the Raptors game to see one of their best wins of the season, man. Very inspiring stuff. And yes, this season is special for many reasons. Because it was a prove-it year for everybody. And so far, everyone's proving that they were worth it and that they deserve it. Arsh sends in $5. Tonight's defensive performance has me so excited to get CMB back. Scottie and CMB are clones on defense in terms of ability and IQ. You know what? I gotta slow people down a little bit. CMB can get to this level, but there is no guarantee that he gets to be as good as Scottie Barnes is on defense right now. We always sort of like put the a cart ahead of the horse with young guys, and I understand the excitement. I'm excited about CMB as well. I'm not gonna put a ceiling on him. But I'm also not going to promise that he's going to be as good as Scottie Barnes. Have you seen Scottie Barnes this season? Scottie Barnes literally, if it's not Scottie for Defensive Player of the Year, it better be like freaking Chet or like Rudy Gobert or somebody like that. Because like, it's incredible what Scottie has done. Leading the league in stocks, coming in with huge plays, clutch plays as well. I mean, that's not even Scottie's first game-saving block. He did it against Charlotte. Remember that? Remember Brandon had the block first and then Scottie had the block right afterwards? But like, how many times has Scottie done this season? You know what I mean? Like making every single winning play when it was there. Again, this is on a night where he couldn't really shoot well. He was in foul trouble. But you think about the last couple plays that Scottie made in this game, which was winning the jump ball twice against Chet, winning the rebound over 2 guys and tapping it out to IQ to secure the win, blocking Chet one-on-one. This guy he has so many different ways of winning. It's incredible. But yes, I think CMB would have thrived in a matchup like this as well. I think whenever the Raptors play small ball teams, especially with their current setup with Scottie, Mamu, CMB, those 3 guys are awesome small ball options. And the Raptors have been crushing teams without true size with that combination. I think they still obviously lack traditional size to go up against like Zubac, which was a loss to the Clippers. More importantly, Embiid, which was a loss to the Sixers. So, even Ayton, which was a loss to the Lakers, like they need true size for different matchups as well. But when teams present the small ball look, and even though with Chet is tall, but I consider OKC a small ball group with this current setup right now, because without Hartenstein, you can bump Chet, okay? You know what I mean? Like, and the Raptors bump Chet quite a bit in this game. But, yes, without that like true physical like interior presence, like the Raptors really can thrive in these small ball matchups, and part of that is because CMB is also special. I'm sure like there will be one day where CMB comes up with game-saving blocks, and wins huge jump balls and wins huge offensive rebounds. He already does a lot of that at the moment, but just let's try to enjoy it, man. I think for Scottie, like it'd be very impressive if he got to the Scottie level, man. It'd be very, very impressive. We got more funds as well. You know what? We got another $20. This is from Hashim. IQ and Cunha are goated. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you, okay? As a Liverpool fan, this was a tough weekend. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was very tough to see. Actually, honestly, all Premier League soccer is tough for me this season. Every team in the league plays like Arsenal for the most part. It's all long throw-ins and corners and smuggling goals over the line. It's just nasty football. Okay, I didn't really want to watch a league with 16 Stokes in it. But regardless, I think the worst offender and the one that really brought this into popularity is Arsenal. And even as a Liverpool supporter, I found myself cheering like crazy watching United come in and win 3-2 at the Emirates today with 3 really nice goals, but in particular the last 2 goals, one by Dorgu with the give and go sequence from Bruno, and then the goal by Cunha after Arsenal scored a classic Arsenal goal, which was let's line up 25 guys on the goal line, body check the goalkeeper, and then just hump the ball into the net from 1 meter away. That's soccer, okay? Disgusting the way they play. And Cunha actually coming in and scoring a screamer was actually massive. Even I had to put rivalries aside. Like, we actually have to unite as like lovers of sport, especially for the sport of soccer, against Arsenal and the way they play. It's just purely disgusting soccer that I see out there. And I hope they never win the league with it, because that will actually, engender even more copycats to this disgusting style. This is like, honestly, like it's like foul baiting. Like it's like rooting for James Harden to win the chip with Houston back in the day. You know how everyone started like, okay, I respect Houston. I see how they're winning. I see how it's smart. It's a good strategy. You see how by the end of it, everyone was cheering when Houston lost, because it was a blight to the game. And that's what Arsenal is right now. And I hope they end up like Houston, actually, always finishing second. So far, so good, actually. But anyway, yes, IQ also very goated. And yes, thank you for the $20 as well. Speaking of IQ being goated, we got the chain for Emanuel Quickley. I believe this is a video. All right, hold on. Let's show the whole video. Hold on. All right. Let's see the video one more time. Darko puts the chain on IQ. A little handshake with Jamal, and that's it. Okay, all right, nice. We have the team photo as well, by the way. Whole team calling 5, except for Grady and Jameson, who are doing the flex. This looks like one of the smallest locker rooms in the entire association. Wow, this. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. There's the change room at Paramount Fine Food Center is bigger than this, man. Yeah, the Raptors 905 Arena legit has a nicer locker room than this, but yeah, the whole team calling 5. Absolutely, bro. I was screaming call 5 at home, man. Like, I was legitimately screaming call 5 at home, man. Like, yeah, super happy for the group. Well deserved for Quick too. I think like he can be such a prominent character for this season. And I think he's like obviously had, inconsistencies, and, people have wanted to upgrade. People wanted more from the position. That's fair. I wanted more from the position too, but you can see when IQ plays well, man, we win. When was one time we had IQ played well and we didn't win? You know what I mean? Like, he has a huge impact on this group, because I think, for the most part, the best part is what Scottie's giving you. You know what Brandon's going to give you. Some of the bench guys are starting to get more consistent too, but if IQ can just play at this level, no one's going to talk about the contract, and no one's going to talk about trade rumors, man, because IQ came up massive tonight. I mean, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 7 of 14 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3 on a night where the Raptors, I mean, he made half the Raptors' threes tonight because no one else could really shoot it consistently. It was basically him and Grady. Like, that was nice stuff. Yeah. All right, we got more money. Sorry, we'll get to some of the other questions. Sorry, we'll have lots of time to hang out, because again, like, the only thing I'm gonna do, besides this tonight is watch Industry. By the way, if you're not watching HBO's Industry, you are missing out. It is genuinely a masterpiece. Freaking 9s and 10s across the board. Okay, I'm excited to watch episode 3 of Industry, season 4 tonight, and of course, besides that, I'm gonna have to shovel the damn drive yard one more time, man. God damn it. It's at the point where when the snow's so bad, you start shoveling and like you come back, like you just like a bit of wind comes over and you're just like, dog, you just undid all my progress. Like, I have a hill that I've like a mound of snow that I've accumulated outside of my house right now that's taller than me. Like, it's obscene. It's obscene. I'm hoping to, not throw my back out shoveling for the 4th time today. But, we'll see. Anyway, my point is we can just chill and hang out here. We also got another $7 from Justin, I'm assuming. Wanted to shout out Jacoby. Despite SGA getting some buckets on him, I thought he played really pesky defense. Yeah. I mean, first off, he made Shea work. And also credit to Shea, bro. Like, the Raptors limited Shea to 11 field goal attempts, right? Just 11. Like, just a couple games ago, I remember watching Shea. He had like 45. He took like 28 shots or something. Like, absurd. Shea only took 11 field goal attempts. That alone is a really, really good defensive game. But this is how good Shea was. With only 11 field goal attempts, and most of these were like step back jumpers, he still went 8 of 11 from the field. He still went 8 of 10 from the foul line, right? Like, so he still had 24 points. But ultimately, the Raptors actually won the minutes that Shea was on the floor. Obviously, they beat Shea tonight. They won the game, which is the most important part. And Jacoby, out of all the guys that guarded him, I mean, I would say Scottie did a great job too, but as the game went on, especially when Scottie got into foul trouble, you couldn't really keep him on him. Man, seeing Jacoby like guard and slide, this is a good matchup for Jacoby. And that's weird to say because like Shea should be a bad matchup for everybody. But Jacoby has a little bit of that like, okay, I'm going to slide my feet. I'm going to get low. I'm going to got these long arms. I'm hard to screen. And I'm going to stick with you the whole time. And I just thought the toughness of Jacoby to sort of like make it tough on Shea and force Shea into making like really impressive fadeaways over and over again, which obviously Shea can do. But I'll live with that because like Shea maybe got to the rim like 3 or 4 times all game. And some of that is because the Raptors double teamed a lot, which, you're always going to have to help against great players. And the Raptors certainly sent a lot of attention his way. But Jacoby also did a great job. So yes, salute to young Jacoby as well. And of course, he did enough offensively too. Like he's just a really ideal 3-and-D guy in the future. You know what I mean? I think I don't even want him to get that much stronger. Like I want him to get wiry strong, which he kind of already is right now anyway. But I don't even want him to pack on too much muscle because I'm just like, I'm looking at Jacoby. I'm like, one of his advantages is he's just so damn quick. You know what I mean? He's so fluid in his movements. And of course his instincts are good too. So yes. Another one from Khalid Ibrahim sends in $5. Raptors and Man United on the same day. Yo, how many United fans are in this chat, man? Damn. But you know what? Congrats to you guys. That was a huge win. Seriously, you know that United was playing good ball when even a Liverpool supporter was supporting them. Okay, but Raps and United winning on the same day. Shead's driving kick to the correct shooter on the perimeter, becoming his signature move, is so beautiful, man. Jamal, again, really quiet game. Real steady as well. Like made a couple good plays. Again, like made that 3 at the end of the 3rd quarter, which was massive. Gave the Raptors a bit of life because the Raptors are going nowhere on that play. It was a complete broken play. You're not expecting Jamal to shoot a 3 over Chet Holmgren and make it very often, but he does that. And then in the 4th quarter, I mean, not only those, but like even the ones where he's on the floor with Scottie Barnes and Brandon Ingram, and they're like, you have the ball. You know what I mean? Like, how impressive that is, especially for a 2nd-year guard who averages like very modest numbers. Like Scottie Barnes is an all-star. Brandon Ingram's an all-star. IQ's paid more, like 10 times more than what Jamal is, whatever. RJ's on the bench for this guy and he's in the game and all he does is show you why he has the ball and why he's making those decisions. Because he also had the play where he got downhill, collapsed the defense, dished it off to Scottie for a dunk. That was probably the only easy bucket Scottie had all night. And then those 2 late driving kicks to IQ. Really, really nice stuff, man. Really. And again, good decision making by Darko to close with Jamal, man. Because, he's closed a lot of big wins for the Raptors. We got another question here from Alex Wen. Who sent in $5. We got production from 9 players tonight. Remember when we couldn't depend on anyone the past 6 players? Darko coach of the year. Man, I think first off, like the development on this team. I mean, when you take a step back and after the Raptors let go of Nick Nurse, I mean, the Raptors really wanted Nick for a long time. And especially after winning the championship and all that he had done. I mean, he's just genuinely one of the most brilliant tactical coaches in the league. That's just objectively true. We don't win the 2019 championship without Nick Nurse. Like that's how much he was important. And I thought Nick was going to be the coach for a very long time. Like I wasn't really thinking that there was going to be too much turnover, but one of the things that suffered with Nick was just player development. Young guys got no oxygen to play. And granted, like Raptors put together some inconsistent, teams and not a lot of those prospects like thrived elsewhere either. It's not like, Delano Banton and Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn are like lighting up the world elsewhere. Precious is actually doing okay, but again, he's on a minimum bouncing around. Like, that's his That's probably his future from now on. And Delano's in the G League, and Malachi's Turkish now. We've already renamed him Malik. He's Malik Flynn from now on. So like it's not saying that it was all Nick's fault, but I do think that like the system that he set up really didn't give a lot of breathing room for a lot of other players, especially secondary players, to thrive and develop. And Darko coming in, I mean, the Raptors have always wanted to play in this sort of like egalitarian, almost like European style basketball, and the Raptors have certainly taken a gamble with that. I mean, if you really take a step back, like the Raptors took a long time to figure out who they wanted to be head coach. They did one of their longest, searches for like anybody for a while, and I think they took like at least like a month and a half without no coach. They finally bring in Darko, which at the time was like no one really knew that much about him, right? Like he had been an assistant for a couple places, but that's a lot of guys in the league. And you got to think about like how many European coaches have like actually had a strong pedigree in the NBA. Like it's hard culturally. I think it's really hard. I remember like when the Suns came in with, the one year they had Igor Kokoshkov, who is also Serbian. I think he actually worked with Darko at some points, but they came with Igor Kokoshkov. And I remember for some reason I was interviewing Jamal Crawford for a story. I was assigned to go interview Jamal Crawford. And so I just remember like talking to Jamal in the locker room and being like, hey, like, can I talk to you? Like, can I talk to you right now before the game, or do you want me to come back after the game? A lot of players don't like to be interviewed before the game, especially for something of like a, you know what I mean? Like, cause they're like, well, look, I want to focus on the game. You just talk to me afterwards. Like they'll have more time. So I'm like, okay, cool. But Jamal was like, no. I'll talk to you before the game. I'm like, oh, okay. You sure you're not playing tonight? And he's like, man, I'll play if I want to, man. I was like, oh, word. And it's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh yeah. Like literally even guys like Jamal Crawford are walking all over the coach, and that year the Suns I think had like 20 wins or something. And he was like kind of a one and done coaching wise, but like it's been difficult, man. Like European coaches have not had an easy time like adjusting to the NBA. And I think Darko obviously like wasn't new to the NBA. Obviously had already worked, for like a decade as an assistant, but I don't think that part should be underappreciated. But he also came in with a set of ideas. Clearly it's a defined style of play. He wanted the Raptors to share the ball. After year one, he really implemented that part. And I remember like another conversation I had with Darko, like at Summer League after the first year, Raptors had won 25 games. They had obviously just drafted guys like Jamal and Jacoby and and I remember just talking to Darko, in the tunnel for Summer League. And I was like, so what are you thinking for year two? And he's like, man, we put in all the pretty offense. Year two, we got to effing defend. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Let's see how that goes. Even for the first half of last year, his second year, especially in terms of how much the Raptors wanted to defend, Raptors were terrible. Like they were literally 28th in defense halfway through the season. Like I think at January last year, the Raptors were like 28th in defense. And somehow they flipped a switch. Last year, obviously the Raptors were tanking. So I understand people weren't watching. I mean, definitely weren't this many people in the stream and stuff like that. But like the Raptors really did flip on a switch defensively. A lot of that was led by Scottie and Jamal, two guys who have stepped up as leaders of this team, and we're continuing to see the fruits of that. But a lot of that was also Darko getting through to these guys and convincing them to play great defense out of a group that we don't really even have, outside of Scottie and maybe Jamal, like we don't really even have like dominant looking defenders. Do you know what I mean? And like the Raptors are still like, what are we now after tonight? Are we in the top 5 defensively now? Like, like they've somehow managed to like create an identity in a time of losing. And that might be one of the hardest things for any team to do. And of course you need leadership to do that. You need leadership from your coach. You need leadership from your top man. And the way that Darko has built strong relationships with everybody across the board, but in particular with his star player in Scottie Barnes, the way he's got, the Raptors are now 4th in defense on the season, which is amazing. Like just objectively amazing. We're like half a point per 100 possessions behind the Spurs, and they have an alien guarding the paint. Okay. But like the way he's built connections with with Scottie, bringing in Brandon Ingram, he's got the best out of Brandon Ingram. He's developed young players. He's got a system of play. And then I think the small stuff is just coming together, how they're executing in crunch time, who's in which roles. Again, even when the season's going tough, he's defending guys. Remember when IQ was struggling? Every single time we talked to Darko about IQ, he said, I have absolute trust in IQ. I have no doubt that he's going to come through and deliver for us. And, you're starting to see the rewards and the fruits of that. And I mean, again, like coming into this year, it was a prove it year, right? On Darko, it was a prove it year on Dobby, and I think leadership across the board. And I think honestly, it's a prove a year for even Scottie and Brandon as like, okay, you're the top guys. Where are you going to lead us to? Well, we're seeing something right now. We're seeing the outlines of it. We're getting great peaks, and when we see games against OKC, it makes you believe. So yeah, man. I mean, yeah, Darko Coach of the Year, sure, why not, man? Raptors have had 3 Coach of the Years, and why not make it a 4th? Because I feel like he's done a great job with this group. He's surpassing all expectations, man. And that's coming from me, one of Darko's biggest doubters in the stretch. I'm not trying to divorce myself from that, but again, like I always say, you don't just attach yourself to a position. You got to evaluate as things come. I've been so impressed on Darko. He's made me a fan of sort of just overall how he approaches the whole thing. So Josh sends in $7. Anyone trying to trade IQ right now or off the rocker? We need this. We needed this for 5 years, man. Plus Scottie's defensive player of the year. No one else single-handedly wins games with defense. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the odds-on favorite for defensive player of the year right now is Chet. Obviously, Chet is a really good defensive player, really good rim protector. Like OKC has the best defense. So you're like, okay, best defender on the best defense. That's my defensive player of the year. I'm going to be a lazy award voter, and I'm just going to like go off of like what probably is true. Or I mean, probably what most award voters do is just listen to Zach Lowe, treat him as the smartest guy in the room, which he probably is. And then they just like go copy his ballot. I mean, that's certainly a real thing. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like Scottie's right there. And again, when you look at who changed the game down the stretch with his defense, it wasn't Chet. It wasn't Chet. It wasn't Evan Mobley from last year. It's been Scottie Barnes, man. So, and then yeah, look, I think when people trying to trade IQ, I think they were looking for this type of production. So that IQ is now producing it is great. The thing is, you bring in a guy midseason to trade, man. You gotta integrate them. You gotta figure out, get them up to speed with your team, especially at the point guard position. How much work goes into that. Even after multiple years of investing in IQ as a point guard, he's still not like fully like up to speed at the point guard. They still have Jamal running a lot. So all sorts of adjustments. But again, like if IQ plays like this and he gives you outside shooting, he doesn't need the ball. He can play off of Brandon. He can play off of Scottie. He can give you his own buckets as well. And he is a factor defensively, chiming in where he can. I mean, that's what else could you possibly ask for? You know what I mean? What else could you possibly ask for? So, yeah, there you go. What else, man? We got $8 here. From T-Man Watanabe. Oh, okay, that's cool. I'm a teacher and we watch you regularly in my classrooms. Kids love you. Wow, thank you. Need to stop shopping RJ. His record on and off the court shows. I mean, first off, that's amazing. First off, maybe I'll try to cut down the swearing a little bit. I'm sorry. Sometimes I get really excited, but I'm sure your kids probably heard all that. I remember coming into Canada when I was like 7, and by the time I was through 1 week of school, I pretty much learned all the English swear words. So but in any case, I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Shouts to your class and your kids as well. Maybe you guys got a snow day tomorrow, hopefully. I mean, come on. I don't think the teachers want to come in tomorrow, okay? And definitely parents don't want to be driving their kids to school at 8 a.m, shoveling their cars out of this like hellscape. But yeah, I mean the need to stop shopping RJ thing. I mean, look, the Raptors need one more guy. I'm not saying it has to be RJ, but why would you trade RJ for a guy who's what you need him to do is what RJ is doing, secondary scoring in transition, leading some of your second lineups. You look at it tonight, right? Like that extra bit of just like that toughness getting to the basket, absorbing contact, making the plays. I mean, he's not an unwilling passer. He's also a nice passer getting downhill as well. He's a nice finisher. Him and Scottie have chemistry. Him and Brandon have chemistry. Him and IQ have built-in chemistry. Like, I know RJ's defense could have been better tonight, and it really could have been. I think a lot of that is just him coming back from injury because he just looked physically slow in a lot of these moments. And obviously he's still on the minutes restriction, but I mean the numbers speak for themselves. They're 18-7 with RJ in the lineup. Like that's absurd. And that includes a slow start to the season when the Raptors went 1-4. Like they've done really well with him in the lineup, and they need this. Like it's not like it's like surplus goods. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, I would understand if like, maybe next year Grady is like popping off and it's like, wow, he probably should start. Or like Jacoby's popping off, he takes another step and it's like, maybe he should start. And like, okay, maybe they crowd out that position and you ultimately want to move your money elsewhere. Like, I understand that to some degree. But we've seen it this season when RJ went down and these guys had to play extended roles. That's when the Raptors had their worst stretch of the season. And now that he's back, like, you need this. Like, if you didn't have RJ tonight, you lose. Period. So, yes, of course, if you make a trade and you bring an upgrade, I'm pretty much for upgrading everybody on the team. But no, man, I think RJ's played really, really vital for this entire group. I mean, yeah, I mean this is a good comment here. RJ as a fourth option is solid. Man, how many fourth options are better than RJ? Think about it. Like RJ Barrett is your fourth option. That's great. Like that guy gives you an efficient 20 every time he plays 30 minutes. So we also got 279 from Gagandeep. Scottie played like Sanji in the clutch. # One Piece. I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't watch One Piece, or I have not read One Piece, so I'm gonna need people to explain that one to me potentially. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm a bad Asian. I didn't read that anime. I'm sorry. All right, those are the super chats. I appreciate you guys for sending money. We'll get through some of your starred comments as well. Again, shouts to super intern Karem for starring these and dropping them into the group. Of course, here, hit the like. Of course, guys, hit the like. I know a lot of you guys are in here more than usual. Very excited, obviously, on a Sunday night. Everyone's snowed in watching this game, watching the Raptors win. Big win of the season. Hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't hit already. Yeah, we have lots of exclusive content in addition to post-game react pods, but of course we can always guarantee that we're always going live after every game, and it's been a lot of fun just watching and reacting live with you guys. Come on, Will. This one should have been a slander pod. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're right. You're probably right. I probably should have just called aside and said, like, let's get on here to slander them. To be honest, I was just like, I think more than slandering, I think I would have been pandering more than anything else. Like, I feel like I'm just really proud of the group. Like, I actually feel no animus towards OKC. Like maybe a little bit towards, like, I don't even know. Like, Shead didn't even foul bait that hard today. Like Lou had one bad play of physicality. I mean, not even bad. He just like got caught up in the air on a pump fake, and Mamu caught him. Like, it's not even so bad. Like, I don't know. I didn't really feel any animosity towards him today. So I don't know. Yeah, it should have been a slander pod. I agree with you, but I don't know. I also have a lot of respect for OKC, so it is what it is. Love how OKC's best players are Canadian. Yeah, I mean, guys, when the Raptors get good and when we get some cap space, I want some of these guys to come home. You know what I mean? Do you see Dylan Brooks, by the way? Do you see Dylan Brooks? Actually, we might talk about this tomorrow on the show too, so I won't overdo it. But Dylan Brooks, talking about how, like, Raptors couldn't get over the hump with DeMar, and like actually telling the truth about DeMar. I mean, look, I think you can both love and respect DeMar for what he did for this organization and how much he helped level up the team alongside of Kyle. Like, it doesn't feel right that we give Kyle so much credit and not give as much to DeMar. DeMar was there for literally right there with them step by step for all of it, except for the title. But yeah, like, we can also be completely honest, man. Like, he's genuinely one of the biggest playoff droppers we've ever seen. And I think the biggest thing that Dylan was talking about in that clip when he's talking about DeMar, he's just like, he didn't like that mentally. It felt like we had already lost. I mean, the way that he would talk about LeBron in some of these matchups was crazy. Like, he would say, like, yo, if we had LeBron, we would have won too. Like, what? We can't say that. Like, you just can't be out there saying that, especially as a leader of the team. More egregious was he said in a press conference once to the whole team during the series, I'll give you guys $100 if you can guard LeBron James. Like, what kind of message is that? We're in the, look, what did Slim Charles say in The Wire, right? If it's a lie, then we got to fight on that lie, but we got to fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, as a leader, like, I understand, like, especially we're coming from where Dylan Brooks is. Like, yeah, I would be out for that stuff too, man. Like, it just, and you know what? It feels harsh, and it is harsh to some degree, but I think Dylan was also speaking facts. Like, especially Dylan growing up in that era, watching that as a kid, watching that as a teenager, watching that in his formative years. Like, hey, every real Raptor fan during that time understands that. Maybe we'll be nicer about how we say it, but we understand that what he was saying was absolutely true. So, what else? Alex must be stuck in Montreal. Holy snow. No, actually, Alex switched up. He was going to take a flight back from Montreal today, which definitely would have been grounded, but he switched up and took the train back. So he's actually back in Toronto. He took the train. Yeah, I'm assuming he fell asleep on the train and listened to Bill Simmons or something like that. You know what I mean? But yes, he is back, and we will be doing a show tomorrow. Man, yeah, this comment here too, man, if we only had Pirtle back, something special about this team. Yeah, I think part of the reason the Raptors needed to trade for a backup center so bad is because Jakob has not been available, right? And obviously we got to live in reality. Jakob just got sent back in the middle of the road trip. He had to be treated for pain in his back. That's not a good sign, right? And of course the trade deadline's coming up. I'm not even sure is Yak's movable right now, to be honest, in terms of a trade, because why would a team trade for Jakob at this given moment. There's no promises that he's like available to play, and there's no clarity in terms of his condition, and how it might progress. Like there just seems to be like many setbacks. But putting aside the frustration of watching the Raptors go without a center, and I think we got to have a little more empathy too. And I think I recognize that in myself. Like sometimes I'm always speaking about like what can the players do for us. Like, man, like Jakob's a good dude. He's been a great soldier for this team. He's come in at certain times where, again, it's not his fault that the team traded for him when Raptors could have rebuilt, whatever. But for the most part, he's come in and he's done his job. He's a really good player. And if you were to add a piece of this team, you would add a Jakob Poeltl type who can come in for 24 minutes, take on the bigger centers, still be able to maintain your identity, moving the ball, be physical, rebound. Like, and I'm sure for him, like, he's probably be gutted because, like, this is the first time the Raptors have been good since, like, he was on the team in 2018. Like, he's been part of this rebuild, and I really wish he could be actually available and healthy enough. I mean, putting aside just maybe even the physical agony of being in pain, but I think as professional, I'm sure he's a little disappointed, more than a little disappointed, that the Raptors are having such a good year and he can't be part of that for reasons outside of his control, with just his health failing him. Like I really, really just want to have a little bit of sympathy for him. But yes, also if he's not available, then we got to get a center. I don't know what else to say. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So, beating OKC with no center is slander worthy. I mean, I agree with you. I think the other thing is the Raptors have done really well against small ball teams. So, yeah, like I think tonight, especially without Hardenstein, OKC just kind of feels small and skinny across the board. I don't know, like can they beat Denver? Are you sure? Denver's leveling up this year, man. I mean, Jokic is out, but a lot of guys have really stepped up, like in a very impressive way. Can they beat well, I mean, actually, they've lost a lot of their games to San Antonio. They lost 3, and then they beat them recently, so it's 3-1 in the series. But like they struggle with the size that San Antonio has, in addition to the quickness San Antonio has. I don't even know if they would be like the Knicks. The Knicks can be really physical, and they have a lot of size in the middle as well. So, but yeah, and anyways, it's not about OKC. It's about the Raptors. We're pretty good against some small balls, man. Scottie has individually won us at least 5 games on the back of massive clutch plays at the end of game. Incredible. You know what? Let's actually investigate a little bit in terms of just Scottie Barnes making the biggest play of the game to win it for the Raptors this season. So I think obviously the Charlotte game with the block, that was the first win over Charlotte at home. That was massive. This game, I think he was absolutely crucial in the win here. I mean, let me just pull up the wins because the Raptors have so many to pick from. You know what I mean? Like, what a luxury it is to have so many wins to sort of talk about. The game where he just absolutely dominated Giannis, that was huge. Raptors beat the Bucks by 28. That was massive. In that win, I thought he was just, gigantic in the victory there. I think the win in Cleveland, the second one, when they had more guys healthy, and he just like thoroughly dominated that game. Him and Jakob were just pushing the break on fast breaks and just like running it down against Cleveland, and he was making huge plays in that one. Oh man, the Pacers game was also pretty big with like the play that he made where he's like looking back at Pascal. That felt a little personal, but it was also quite entertaining. I must be forgetting some games here. At a losing stretch. Oh, the Miami games were also huge. Like, felt like I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not imagining like the Golden State game. What am I thinking? That's like number one moment for Scottie so far in the year is that the 26 rebounds against Golden State, taking over down the stretch, winning in overtime. I mean, Scottie was so good in that one. But yeah, I mean, so many huge wins, man. And again, like he's like he should be like honestly like he should be like top 7 in like MVP voting. You know what I mean? Like right now, like I don't. It's hard to imagine guys who have been more valuable to their team this season. I'm not saying he's a top 7 player in the NBA. That's like I think that's still too far. Even as excited as I am for him this year, but like like his availability, the way he's impacted winning. Again, the Raptors also have like we're at 29 wins. We have more wins than Boston. The only teams with more wins than us are San Antonio, Denver, Detroit, and OKC. I'll give you Shea ahead of him, no problem. He should win MVP. Cade Cunningham, I'll give you Cade. You know, the Pistons have had a better season. Although obviously Cade doesn't do as much defensively as Scottie does, but Cade's also decent defensively and better offensively. Denver, I'll give you Jokic, even though Jokic has been out for a lot of this stretch when they've still been winning. But you know, Jokic is Jokic. I'll give you that. I mean, even Wemby. I mean, Wemby's been out a lot too. But like, I'll even give you Wemby and even Jaylen Brown. But like past that, like I think I think he's had a better year than a lot of these other guys, especially considering both ends of the floor, man. And there's a lot of impressive names I didn't say there, like Luka, Steph, and I'm sure like nationally these guys will be recognized more for their contributions, maybe even Maxi. But like I think Scottie has a good case against all these guys if you really, really stack it up based on like the amount of like production he's made. Like I actually don't think if you swapped out like Maxi, I mean, I guess that's weird positionally, but like you could swap out a lot of players for Scottie in that position. Like, I don't think we would have done better. Like, I don't think if you swap Giannis' season with Scottie's season this year, the Raptors will have. I think the Raptors have a worse record, and that's crazy because that's Giannis, but that's truly what I believe right now. Why is this frozen for me? Am I frozen? Hello? Okay. Hopefully I'm not frozen, guys. Chat, am I frozen? Please? No? Yes? Jimmy sends in $5. Tonight was a Canadian night classic. SGA, the Canadian MVP, was flawless. The Canadian NBA team played competitively and won like a Canadian snowstorm. I mean, I feel quite Canadian right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got my little Lululemon, Olympic gear on. Obviously, the Olympics are about to be on. Looking forward to the Winter Olympics. They could have played the Winter Olympics here in Toronto, man. I mean, look at all the snow around us, right? But yeah, this is a great win, man. And honestly, Canada basketball's in a great place. I finally finished. Well, I didn't finally finish. It didn't take me that long, to be honest. But I had read like 80% of Oren's book, and then I left the last 20% for a while, and I finally, banged it out over the weekend. Really good stuff. The Golden Generation, written by Oren Weisfeld. But like, yeah, man, it just puts into perspective how many great stories have really gone into this, how much work has gone into the Canadian program, and getting to know the stories behind, like, Nikhil and Shea growing up together, Dylan Brooks, the way he grew up, RJ Barrett, his story, Andrew Wiggins, like, Jamal Murray, like, man, there's just so many great success stories across the league, you know what I mean? And yeah, but Raptors got this one though. That's the most important part, you know what I mean? That's the most important part. Does this win alone maybe change the front office plan for the trade deadline next week? I don't think so. I think I actually once asked Bobby on record, like, hey, did you add Thad Young because the Raptors needed an extra piece for this year? And he kind of like paused for like a solid 20 seconds and then kind of like almost scoffed at the idea. He was like, oh, you mean like, the Raptors are struggling, so I brought him in for this? Like, no, we plan things for like 2-3 years and we have a grand strategy. So I was like, oh, okay. I felt a little dumb being like, hey, did you just, basically I asked him like, hey, is it like fantasy sports when you just like add a guy off the waiver wire for some extra rebounds or something this week to win a matchup? And he was like, nah, man, we're real GMs over here. I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. So no, I don't think this week changes the strategy. I really don't. What's going on with BI? Seems like he's fading. I think tonight was just a bad matchup for him. I think a lot of guys were really tired. OKC played really good defense against them. Other games where guys are really like double teaming and whatever. I think BI's had a really good road trip as well. He's been pretty efficient. So today his shots didn't really drop. Like today he had a really good move where he got one-on-one, I think against against Aaron Wiggins in the middle of the floor. Like he was at the free throw line and BI hit him with like a jab step and a shoulder bump kind of all in one combination. But like created so much space off the step back, and it was on a free throw line jumper, and I'm like, man, this is a money shot right here. He couldn't really knock it down, but I was just like, wow, that was a nice move. But yeah, I mean, I think he just missed some shots tonight. I don't think he's really been fading. If anything, he's actually been pretty good throughout the year, energy wise. He's gonna live on tough shots, so there's gonna be nights where the tough shots kind of beat him. But yeah, I actually thought he honestly played fine today. That Jamal Shead behind the back pass to Walter was so fire and satisfying, man. That was probably the best pass of the game. And so the Thunder weren't in zone. I believe it was Ingram who threw I think Ingram was posting on the wing. No, yeah, posting the defense was kind of like shifting and loading up on Brandon, but Jamal, if you actually look at that play, Jamal looks back at Walter, and so it's like I don't know if they communicated like verbally, but definitely visually they connected on that because Walter was on the wing, and Jamal went underneath the basket, which is a rare place for Jamal to be, in terms of just flashing for a cut. He probably is the last guy you would expect to cut under the basket, considering he's small and also he's a point guard. But Bi feeds the ball to Jamal under the hoop, and Jamal in one like fell swoop, he like wraps around behind his back, throws a bounce pass along the baseline, and Jacoby just happens to be sliding down from the wing to the corner to catch the ball and knock down the three. It was actually the only three Jacoby knocked down all night, but it was a sexy sequence, man. And there must have been pre-planned. I think the Raptors have done a lot of work against the zone, that knowing that teams are zoning against them. I'm sure in walkthroughs, I'm sure in the rare chances they get to practice, even in film. I think they're all really trying to figure out how to solve the zone, and I think that's one of the small successes of the entire road trip is they got killed by zone against the Lakers, and that was one of the major reasons why the Raptors lost that game. And they've been zoned by every other opponent since then. Like, Golden State zoned them, Portland zoned them, Sacramento zoned them for 3/4 tonight, OKC zoned them. They've done a much better job against that. And I think that's a great job by the coaching staff to adjust, but it's also a great job by the players to work through some of those problems. Like, that's something that's definitely pre-rehearsed, and that was good stuff. You know what? We have even more questions, but I think, just before we even get to those, I think we're making a chill choice these days, okay? I think the weather has forced us to be absolutely chill, okay? It is snowing like crazy outside. I literally just shoveled a snowbank that is now taller than my actual physical height out there. And yeah, man, these Canadian winters, they can be stressful. But Coors Light is the chill choice, and staying chill is the winning play, I'm not going to lie. I think if you're running out of fridge space, you just all you need to do is take the cores and just put them outside right now. You can put them in the snowbank if you like, actually. Probably keep it a little nicer of a temperature than just straight up tossing them outside when it's like -20. I think that gets a little bit too far, to be honest. But put them in the snowbank right now. Okay, you're about to shovel the drive yard. Okay, it sucks. It is what it is. You come out there, put the cores in the snowbank. You do your shoveling, and then you pull the cores out. Nice little reward for you for doing all that hard work. And of course, when you pull the can out, you're going to see the mountain's going to turn blue, and that means the beer is as cold, as refreshing as the Rockies themselves. I mean, we're almost as snowy as the Rockies themselves. So when the game heats up, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Find Coors Light near you. Visit CoorsLightShop.ca. Celebrate responsibly, and you must be of legal drinking age. Okay, back to your questions. We're still hanging out. We're going a little extra tonight just because there's literally nothing else to do besides more shoveling and more industry. Okay, I don't know if we have industry fans in here. Please don't spoil it for me, but just let me know if you're watching industry. Okay, again, it's one of the best television shows. Probably one of my favorite television shows ever, to be honest, but definitely the best television show currently on TV right now, in my humble opinion. We got another $5 here from Bondi Sports Center, 5280. This made me feel a bit better from the Broncos losing the AFC Championship. Yo, you know what? I watched a little bit of that today. I'm not a big NFL fan, but it was on just before the Raptors game, and a whole bunch of NBA games got canceled or whatever. So even I tapped into the AFC Championship, and I was like, so towards the end of that game, I guess like the first two and a half quarters, like it was cold, but it wasn't snowing. But there was like a flash blizzard or something. So by the time it got to the fourth quarter, when I tapped in, I was just like, all I'm seeing is New England up 10-7. All they're doing is just running the ball and then punting it. Like, they're not even trying to score. Like, they're not even trying to get first downs. They're just running the ball to kill the clock, then punt. And it was impossible to throw the ball at any point because it was so snowy. The one time that I saw one throw, the Broncos threw it for interception. I'm sorry for the Bondi. I'm sure I'm just recapping like a game that was probably hard to watch, especially considering the context. But it was just an absurd game. At one point, they tried to kick a 46-yard field goal to tie, which typically speaking in regular weather conditions, that's probably like an 80-85% kick. But that one sailed wide as well. Like, it just felt like the weather was so bad, it was like not actually possible to play the game. Like, It didn't even feel fair. Like I feel like if I were a Bronco fan, like I don't know what else I would do. I mean, it's the weather. Both teams had to play in it, but it's just like it started snowing at exactly the wrong time for them, and the game was not even like you couldn't even play basically. So I don't know. I felt bad for Broncos fans. But I guess the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. Like, man, how often does this have to happen, man? I'm sick. Even I'm sick of this, and I don't even have any rooting interest whatsoever. But I just don't want Bostonians to have this much joy in general. But yes, I my sympathies that your team lost in these very very difficult conditions out there. Late to class. Who's here every time? Late to class, but never late to the pod. 1 week until All-Star reserves are announced. I'd be shocked if Scottie and Bi both aren't in, especially since Giannis needs an injury replacement, so it'll be 8 players instead of 7. You know what? I think the one thing that's concerning me is this, like, the fact that it's supposed to be an international versus, like, USA kind of thing. And so I don't know if Adam Silver needs to hit a specific quota. In which case, I would say, Adam, I would say Scottie could either qualify either as Jamaican, which he has expressed interest in playing for Team Jamaica, although he has never played for the program just yet. Honestly, at this rate, Scottie should maybe hold out. I think he could be on Team USA. Not saying whatever. You choose whatever way you want, but I think the Team USA could actually be something in his future. He certainly played for Team USA in the youth groups coming up, but yeah, like if you know what, why can't they qualify as Canadian, man? Like, come on, man. Like let's get let's get Scottie and Brandon in and qualify them as Canadians, considering they play for the one Canadian team in the league. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're just talking about the next 8 best players in the Eastern Conference, I think Scottie's definitely in there, and I think Brandon should be in there as well. Like, I know like the numbers probably, like I think both Norm and Michael Porter Jr. have scored more, but again, Brandon Ingram came to the Raptors, and look at the change in the team, man. It's not all him. I'm not trying to say it's only because of him, but he's been a massive factor in, first off, being available. I know he's been more available to some of these guys, which is obviously new for Brandon in terms of the availability, but that's huge. He's hit game winners for the Raptors, and like he's completely given them an opportunity to actually be good in the half court offensively. So that on top of his talent and his stats, I think both of them should be in. I don't think it's asking for too much. I really think that both guys deserve to be in, and I'd be a little bit pissed if both guys weren't in, to be honest. But I think if I had to bet, I think I would probably say only Scottie gets in. But I mean, like, I don't know, man. Do you really want to see Michael Porter Jr. in an All-Star game? Like, we know he's not an All-Star level player. Like, it's, I mean, or even Norm. Like, I think Brandon's a better player than these guys. Do those guys even? I'm not trying to be rude to some of these guys, but like, volume 3-point shooting gets the volume scoring. It's fine, but like, I see every team double team Brandon Ingram. Hey, listen, if you're one of the coaches that has played the Raptors in the Eastern Conference and you're voting for who you're going to have as the All-Star reserves, just think about it. Did you double team this player? Because if you didn't double team this player, he shouldn't be an All-Star. I see Brandon Ingram getting double teamed every night. And honestly, I watched the decent Heat games, watched a decent amount of Brooklyn Nets games. They're all getting double teamed. I'll just say that much. You know, are you double teaming him to force the ball out of his hands? Because I see that with Brandon Ingram all the time. So if your defense is telling me that you are so worried about this guy, you're going to put 2 on him and force anyone else to score, well, you know, be consistent with your vote then. That's all I would say. Jacoby's far and away our best perimeter defender. Yeah, I actually really like that. I think, you know, like he's well, I don't know. I think Scottie's a better perimeter defender too, but Jacoby's definitely among the young guys our best perimeter defender. I think he's better than Jamal in that front as well. Jamal has like the little bit more of the dark arts in terms of like knowing how to like fall and absorb contact on moving screens, and you know he you know definitely is great at drawing those. But yeah, Jacoby does a great job moving his feet, sliding. I think sometimes like both guys can be a little susceptible to like gambling, but I think that's kind of a team-wide directive where they really want them to be super aggressive. So yeah, Jacoby reminds me of KCP. I think that was like the exact comp for Jacoby coming out of the draft was this could be a future KCP, and I think I'd be pretty happy with that. KCP's a good player, man. Jamal's shot is very shaky. I was hoping anyone else got the ball there. Yeah, I think just talking about the free throws at the end. I mean, again, I think it's a good sign that Brandon gave up the ball to Jamal in that instance, because if I was Brandon, I probably just would have held the ball and been like, you know, listen, I'm the closer, I'm the best, you know, free throw shooter on the well, I got maybe him or IQ, but it's like I'm just gonna hold it, and he would have been 100% justified to hold it, but I think he swung it to Jamal. just as an instinct of like team basketball. He's more open. He's going to get it. He's going to burn a little bit more time off the clock. And I trust him to make the free throws. And I'm happy that they did it, even though he missed. And that could have been super costly if not for Scottie's tap out and then IQ icing the game on the second try. But I think it's a good sign of this like team chemistry, actually. But yeah, Jamal. I mean, I think Brandon should have just kept the ball though. Forget team chemistry. Just make the free throws. Not to be a buzzkill, but do we need to talk about Darko's challenge? Oh man, that was tough. So I gotta acknowledge that the Raptors have actually done a really good job of they got to do a really good job of they've been winning more challenges recently. Like winning more challenges, but I still think there's room for improvement. So tonight they challenged the play. It was in the fourth quarter where it looked like Mamu contested a shot and then there was kind of a loose ball. It was like who touched the last. Those are always kind of 50-50 possessions. And they initially called it as OKC's ball. The Raptors, I don't know if they actually had enough time to look at the review or what the process was, but they just went for the review. Unfortunately, upon review, the referees saw that Mamu wasn't contesting in a straight line, so he was like, it was a blocking foul. He bumped Jalen Williams on the drive to the basket. Or no, maybe it was Kenrich Williams. I'm not really sure. But anyways, they bumped the OKC player. So instead of it just being OKC's ball on the inbound on the baseline, upon review, the Raptors lose the challenge, which means they lose their future challenge. They also lose their timeout, which again in the fourth quarter is pretty important. And on top of that, they called a proximate foul on Mamu. So they ultimately hustled backwards in that instance. And it was interesting. The camera panned over to Darko actually giving Eric Curry, who's like the video assistant who has the iPad and that's like his thing, is like he's like in charge of the challenges, or at least he's the guy with the iPad. I mean, it's obviously Darko's call, but he's the guy who's like one of the assistant coaches. Like his job is to just look at the iPad and like go through reviews and ultimately suggest which ones to review. And Darko actually went over to him and gave him a little dap and just been like, oh man, okay, it didn't work out this time, but dog, that was one of the most costly challenges, man, because you lose timeout, you lose the challenge, and you, instead of giving the ball back to OKC, you instead give them 2 free throws. Like it's kind of unbelievable how much that backfired. So ultimately it didn't cost them, but again, like it was a 1 possession game at the end. Like it really could have cost them, you know what I mean? So only the second time all season OKC's lost 2 games in a row in their arena. Yeah, I mean those 73-9 hopes are completely gone now. And by the way, it's not easy to beat the Thunder without Jalen Williams. Like I think they were 33-1. They are now 33-3 after losing to Indiana as well. So they're in a bit of a slide. I think certainly it feels like they have nothing less to play for. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna get the first seed. And then it's just about how they could protect their title, right? And they probably want to get healthy. This is probably like not that long of a window for OKC, considering the fact that like they're going to be in the second apron next year. All the contract extensions, like Shea's getting basically salary doubled. Jalen Williams is getting his max contract kicking in. I think Chet maybe is also along that same time frame. So this seems to get really expensive really soon. They got to figure out. They're probably gonna have to shed like some pieces, whether that's Lou Dort, whether that's Isaiah Hartenstein. Look, it's OKC, so they're gonna make good trades. Sam Presti's gonna extract maximum value. Like that's all there to be said. But this current iteration of the team, they pretty much have like a 2-year like free run. Afterwards, they either have to pay through the nose, which any respecting team should be doing. But obviously, OKC's a small team, so I think they're probably. I mean, they already lost Harden, not trying to pay the team, right? So definitely no guarantee that OKC opens the wallets. And the other part is like. It's hard to even build for more than like a 2-3 year peak in today's NBA, which is hard. It's sad to say because it makes it really difficult to follow a team for like an extended period. But I'm not crying for OKC though. I'm not crying for OKC. We got another question here. I honestly think that management wanted to go into the season to see how they played in the playoffs before making decisions. Hopefully this is a stretch of years where we make the playoffs consistently. Yeah, I think that's a really, really nice comment. I actually think I thought about that as I was shoveling this note today. I was thinking about the Raps and sort of how they're going, but yeah, like a lot, like it was weird. I was shoveling this note and I was thinking about like, okay, how are the Raptors going to pay Mamu and all that kind of stuff, because that's been a popular question this year. Every time Mamu plays well, there's like this like weird existential dread. People are like, oh my god, how we pay Mamu? I'm like, okay, like that's a good problem. That's literally a good problem. But I was thinking about it and I was just like, I'm at the point where I still want to see like who performs in the playoffs and who doesn't. That's gonna be a big part of like how I evaluate like players going forward, you know. And it's a small sample obviously, but I think it's a very informative thing. You know, I think there were certain players that really showed for the Raptors, like I mean, if we're talking about playoff droppers, Raptors had a couple, right? Like Lou Williams had a 6 Man of the Year season for the Raptors. He was so bad in the OKC, the Wizards series, the Raptors were like, nope, we need to improve on defense. We're not going to offer him a contract, right? Like, that's the playoffs giving you some information. Patrick Patterson, the same thing. They were like, oh, Patrick Patterson, like plus minus, always good. Go to the playoffs. This man bricked every open three. You know, I was like, all right, cool. Like, yeah, it wasn't good defensively. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we got to move on from him. He's surplus as well. So there's always these things that really factor in. I think the playoffs, in addition to what they do in the regular season, is a really big evaluation tool. So let's take two more and then we'll get out of here. I mean, I'm starting to run out of energy, and also really curious and I really want to watch industry. We have $2 here sent in from Maker's Rocket. What do you think the Raptors do at the deadline? I think we probably trade. Well, I think we trade Ochai for a center. We duck the tax and we keep the team relatively stable for now. I think their evaluation of, I mean, they're running out of time with Jakob. They really just are running out of time. Like at this point, you need to get a clear diagnosis and something that's absolutely sure. What's the timetable? What's the level he can come back at? What's the real availability for this player? Because that is going to be one of the biggest things that informs what you do at this trade deadline. And I think they've tried to sort of like give it a try and test it, and maybe like even Darko was on record saying we'll give him 2 weeks off, he'll be completely fine. They've given him a month off. He's not fine. He's getting more pain injections. So they got to diagnose what it is. They got to figure out what they have, and that's got to be leading their decision-making process in addition to getting under the luxury tax. And then, yeah, last question here. I don't know. Let's pick one more from the chat. Street saying, we're running out of time. We got 5 years, baby. We have all the time in the world with Jakob. That's true. That's true. Will falls asleep thinking about Mamu's salary. No, not me, man. Not me. But I was thinking about it while shoveling snow, though. I don't know. Maybe because I was watching a Raptors video as I was doing it. All right. Well, you know what? Maybe I don't have one more question in me. I think I'm good. All right. Before we go, I'm going to hand out the 3 stars and wrap out here. 3 stars from tonight's game. First star, Emanuel Quickley. First star of the entire road trip, man. Huge game. 23 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. I thought his energy defensively was good, too. Those 2 steals were both times where the Raptors double team Shead at the perimeter, and then that meant guys behind the defense had to rotate and like be able to both cover for the corner shooter, but also rotate over to the rim. And IQ got in there for back-to-back steals at one point. I was like, damn, that's really good stuff from IQ. I thought defensively it was really good. But yeah, the 8 points in the last 2 minutes, 2 threes and 2 free throws, just huge. Just huge for Emanuel Quickley. Gets the chain, call 5. You know, he's picking up these days. He's picking up the phone. Second star, I'm going to give that to Scottie Barnes. Obviously, the huge plays at the end there. Almost got himself a little Jason Kidd triple-double. 10 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 3 of 8. Obviously wasn't involved too much offensively tonight. Not even involved. He just didn't have much energy. I'm not going to lie to you. Scottie looked exhausted. There were moments where he wasn't even crossing half court, but was a plus 15 in this game. Had to sit a lot of it because of the foul trouble. Played the entirety of crunch time with 5 fouls. Played physical too. Like he was still chasing for rebounds. He was still contesting for shots. He was still going up strong. You know, like, I respect when a player trusts their basketball instincts enough to say on 5 fouls, I'll still play well. Like that's something that Draymond does really great. That's something that Kyle Lowry used to do really well as well. Like, yes, they can be in foul trouble, but the coach can still trust them because that's how smart the player is, right? And Scottie obviously is a brilliant player. The block at the end, the offensive rebound at the end, winning the jump ball. I mean, just so many great plays across the board. This is one of Scottie's like quietest games of the year, and he has 10, 11, 8, 1, 3, and makes so many big plays in crunch time. I think your third star, you can go a lot of places with this, but I think I'm going to go with Jamal Shead. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, but the driving kicks down the stretch too. And again, like I can't stress this enough, on a team with, all-stars and, first-round picks and, guys getting paid a lot of money or whatever, the fact that they trust Jamal to close it out, to drive the car is so impressive. In terms of what Jamal is, the whole team recognizes what he can do, and they trust him in these huge processes, man. So, your Gerald Henderson Award for who randomly torched the Raps. I'm gonna go with Kenrich Williams. He was actually pretty important. Actually, he did a really good job guarding Scottie. You know, he's kind of like, well, yeah, he's one of their key reserves, I would say. You know, he doesn't always play, but I mean, he could knock down the three. But I thought his physicality and his defense was quite good in this one. He had 15 points. You could have gone with Lou Dort as well. Actually, you know what? I switched that up. I'm going to give it to Lou Dort. Sorry. Lou Dort was better. 19 points. He knocked down 4 threes in the first half. Second half, you're like, I can't believe these will keep going in, and it did not keep going in. But 19 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. Did a great job defending Brandon Ingram. I'm going to give that to Lou Dort. He really deserves it. So thanks everyone for listening. We will be back tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. Me and Alex will be chopping it up. We'll be talking raps. We'll be talking a couple other things around the association. But for now, thanks everyone for listening. Again, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like on the stream. Appreciate you guys sending in money. You know, it's always fun to chat back and forth with you guys. W's in the chat for Karem, who always does a great job backing up the play here on the React Pod. All the questions, all the pictures, all the videos, that's all Big K coming through with that. And yeah, hit subscribe too if you haven't already to the channel. So appreciate you guys. Awesome win. And yeah, Raptors welcome home, Raptors. You're about to shovel 2 meters of snow, but you know, you'll be doing it with a smile on your face considering the Raptors won tonight.